Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance. No contribution with this video. So, saw a trailer for the new Mr. Rogers movie that's coming out, which is like a biopic or a biopic, however you want to say that word, of his life. And I was watching the trailer, and there's one part of it where the girl's talking to the reporter who's doing the background on him. Don't ruin my childhood. And it's funny because it immediately brought me back to my childhood and to meet my father. My father, me, fucking hated this man. Hated him. Hated Mr. Rogers. Would make fun of me for watching it, would yell at me for watching it, get him off, I don't want to see him. So for years, it was like, I would just have this visceral reaction as a kid because of him to Mr. Rogers. Even though deep down I really liked it. Like, I really liked Mr. Rogers. What kid wouldn't like Mr. Rogers? The Land of Make-Believe, Henrietta Pussycat, like the whole thing. And I remember a lot of my friends' parents didn't like it either. Didn't like there was something wrong with you if you were watching Mr. Rogers. And like right here, I gotta go right back to societal narcissism in the baby boomers, being such degenerates as they are. Now you tell me what your experience was with your parents in this show, but I'm telling you mine. The boomers being the degenerates they are, they can't stand seeing something wholesome put in front of your face, something normal being put in front of their children. So like, to the point where my father had, it was like this visceral reaction. It was like this like this mirror. Now I'm thinking about this mirror being held up to his face of what an actual degenerate this man is. Hating on Mr. Rogers. Like, And I'm not going to play the trail. I'm going to play something else. What I'm going to play for you here, because I think this best captures who Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, was and how much he cared about children. And for him to be attacked by the likes of somebody like my father or anybody else, like by these degenerate boomers, who made it like there was something wrong with you if you watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Meanwhile, my father would sit there for hours on end on the weekends watching Looney Tunes. And don't get me wrong, I love Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes. But let's just face it, it's all beat you up, pop up, blow you up in your face, and you go out and then you're friggin' running around like a lunatic as a kid. For him to be able to consume that for hours on end and then have this visceral reaction to Mr. Rogers, to me, Mr. Rogers held the mirror to the baby boomers' faces. He saw it. He saw it like, you are screwing up your kids. You are screwing up your kids. And they weren't having it. They weren't having it. And I remember that. My father's like who's he? He's like lecturing me. I didn't understand what he was talking about. Like, what do you mean he's lecturing you? It's puppets. Like, what are you talking about? The trolley, the Land of Make-Believe, Mr. McFeely, like speedy delivery. No, Mr. Rogers was holding up a mirror to the baby boomers' faces, saying, you are degenerates. You are ruining your children. What I'm going to show you here is a Senate subcommittee. Senator Pastore, who's running the committee, and there's Fred Rogers basically trying to get $20 million to keep PBS funded. Now, for years I've been saying that the public television doesn't need money. At this point, it doesn't need money. But back then, I think it did. Let's soften my stance a little bit on this. So it's about a 7-minute video. I'm going to try to play it right. I'm not going to stop it very much. I'm going to play it right through, and I'll comment again at the end.
Now, Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Fred.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
Senator Pastore, this is a philosophical statement and would take about 10 minutes to read, so I'll not do that. One of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust, and I trust what you have said that you will read this. It's very important to me. I care deeply about children. My first children...
Will it make you happy if you read it?
I'd just like to talk about it, if it's all right.
Sir. Okay.
My first children's program was on WQED 15 years ago, and its budget was $30. Now, with the help of the Sears Roebuck Foundation and National Educational Television, as well as all of the affiliated stations, each station pays to show our program. It's a unique kind of funding in educational television. With this help, now our program has a budget of $6,000. It may sound like quite a difference, but $6,000 pays for less than 2 minutes of cartoons, 2 minutes of animated, what I sometimes say, bombardment. I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. And I've worked in the field of child development for 6 years now, trying to understand the inner needs of children. We deal with such things as the inner drama of childhood. We don't have to bop somebody over the head to make him to make drama on the screen. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. And we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day. Most channels schedule it in the noontime as well as in the evening. WETA here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it? Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
I'd like very much for you
I'd like to see the program itself, or any one of them, you see.
We made 100 programs for EEN, the Eastern Educational Network, and then when the money ran out, people in Boston and Pittsburgh and Chicago all came to the fore and said,
I remember my father talking about, like, what kind of man talks like this? What kind of man talks like this?
We've got to have more of this neighborhood expression of care. And this is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger. Much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Well, I'm grateful not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication. Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel when you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead. And think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, 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 anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this, and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
He knew in 1969 the children were mad, had anger issues, and they weren't being addressed properly. He knew it. He knew Gen X, the new generation. And he knew we weren't getting fulfilled by our baby boomer. Those needs were not being met by our baby boomer parents. He knew our parents would rather put us in front of a TV, the boomers would rather put us in front of the TV watching Looney Tunes and whatever other violent nonsense is going on, not interacting with us and leaving us with all these feelings of hurt and anger and not knowing what to do with them. He was holding a mirror up to societies and specifically the boomers' faces, telling them, you're messing up your kids. And what do? The boomers make fun of them. Call him all kinds of names. He's not a real man. They don't know what he's talking about. Who is he? Who is he? Fred Rogers may have been the first anti-narcissist. Chad had the first anti-narcissist channel out there, telling these children they have value. I remember that. Everybody's special. Just by being yourself. I mean, I'm not talking about snowflake stuff. He understood the anger these children had. You know, and just the day-to-day things, like dealing with family, dealing with the day-to-day life, that were just not being met or fulfilled or even acknowledged by these baby boomers. Fred Rogers held up a mirror to society's face, and the boomers saw it, and they saw their mirror opposite, and a lot of them rejected him, like my father, called him all sorts of names and made you feel like there was something wrong with you for watching him. Same with a lot of my friends too. And I'm not talking about like being like 12, 13 watching Mr. Rogers. I'm talking about being a 5, 6, 7-year-old watching Mr. Rogers, and that's how he would act. Always made fun of him. Always made fun of him like there was something wrong. He did the same thing to my brother, too. Why? Because Fred Rogers truly cared about children. Like, look it up. There is not one scandal. You cannot find one negative word about this man. He saw it back then. He saw it back in 1969. Like, society is messing up these children. Specifically, our Gen X. And whose faces was he holding this mirror up by and large in 1969? The boomers. The boomers. So, saw the trailer, and it just kind of like clicked in my head. Like, wow, like the negative thoughts that I carried for years about Mr. Like, I don't even know why. It's because of him. Because Fred Rogers every day would get on TV and said, "Hey, boomer, you're messing up your child." And what does the boomer do? Ugh. Ugh. That's how they react. That's how they react. So, thank you to Mr. Rogers. And thank you for some kind of normalcy in my childhood, I guess. You know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you want to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful. This channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.